So this is one of the sandpit projects we had, and is about the resilience of the railway network under propagating uncertainty. Now, I must tell you that this project is halfway through, so what I'm presenting is the first part of what we got so far, essentially. So in the sandpit, we had a team of 6 people, 4 of them are here, and we are running till the end of the year, effectively. The rationale is purely economical, if you wish, but in terms of linking the nation. The resilience of the transport system is a well-identified challenge, and most of all, the commitment to keep the nation connected is a financial commitment that has to go with a commitment to adaptation of the current infrastructure. And so it's an environment where we face challenges of high uncertainty and data integration, because we are trying to match meteorological data with as infrastructure data, and in each of them there is an uncertainty that propagates when we go eventually to measure our resilience, which we intend as the ability to deliver a throughput through the network. And in fact, this is the grand scheme of things that we had in mind. Being a sandpit, it is intended to create the foundation for something bigger that is next. So in the current scheme of things, we are looking at the weather hazards that impact the network and their uncertainty. So we don't have absolute certainty of what the weather will be like and what the impact of the network will be like. So it's 2 sources of uncertainty that affect locally the network, but what comes out of it is a fragmentation of the network on a larger scale. And if we manage to map these on a small area of the country, then when we expand this to larger network, we can look at the optimal resource allocation problem, really, and the trade-off between the operational resilience and the structural resilience of the network. So the data that we started this project with are 5 kilometers grid of weather, and the position really of the assets and the kind of assets we have. These 2 different kind of data meant the first challenge in trying to map what the weather is on a patch, a 5 kilometers by 5 kilometers patch, onto a line infrastructure which is composed of different assets in the same patch and across patches. We also considered vegetation, but one of the first results led us to a what is called complexity control. That is, we don't really need vegetation for this analysis. There is not one reason for that. There are several reasons for that. The first 2 that come to my mind is that vegetation data are highly seasonal and often not synchronized with infrastructure data. So we have surveys of vegetation that are not at the time we are interested in analyzing the network. It's a living system, it grows. The other reason is that it doesn't matter how much vegetation you have immediately next to the line, or what kind of vegetation you have. Critical data become the weather data, what kind of weather you have on the line. So the way we passed from the spatial data of the weather to the spatial data of the asset is a little bit of data organization, but then once you have it, you try to compute your ability of predicting the the failure of the asset based on the local weather. And what we did is, considering the 12 hours before, to make a point prediction of the failure of the asset. By doing that on old data set, but we can substitute with a new data set, having it led to quite encouraging results of a failure. So the ability to minimize the false positive, maximize the true positive through it leads to a regression that is 85% accurate. Now, I don't want to enter too much into the Bayesian terminology in this case, but you can think that an optimal predictor has as in the area to the left-hand side is 1, so spans the whole square, but our predictor doesn't always do that. So 85%. The interesting thing is that when you consider also the vegetation, so increase the complexity, the gain you get is less than 1%. And so we skipped it and we consider instead wind direction, temperature, and precipitation. And so this is the kind of results you get for given wind and given temperature, which were the two deliverables we promised. You can get maps of vulnerability of the network. So while the color of the patches is the intensity of the weather stress, the color of the line is the probability of failure of that patch of the line, that portion of the line. And we did it for wind and temperature, in particular, high variation of temperature in short time. We also did it for 3 more variables, that is total precipitation, snowfall, which is quite rare, and relative humidity. These are extra to what we intended to do, but came as natural low-hanging fruit. What we are now doing, and we hope to deliver by the end of the month, is the origin-destination drop and service following the failures we have seen. And we are considering a variable rerouting. Now, the railway system is such that rerouting a service, it's a very difficult thing to do, but rerouting passengers happens quite often. So people faced with a disruption may choose to jump on another service or reroute their route to destination, but the train operators hardly manage to put an additional service to reroute people. It's possible, but it's rarely occurring. So we have to deal with this extra variable, that is, what's your probability of being rerouted, and we will try to do that to reroute the residual demand, that is what managed to get to destination minus what was intended to go to destination. We'll do that through a number of numerical simulation and Monte Carlo approach, but the second part of the project that is starting from this month, while we'll deliver the first part of the result, is also passes through something that will hopefully bypass the Monte Carlo approach. And in particular is a Bayesian network approach that through an event decomposition will essentially, given local failure, propagate your probability of line failure and throughput failure throughout the network. This is analytically more sound, deeper in terms of analytic terms, but saves a lot in terms of computational complexity, and hopefully will lead to a final product for the DAFNI platform, which is lighter. This methodology was applied through in past research within the group, and in particular in relation to seismic risk and highway network. So we are importing it and making it particular to weather risk and rail network, and is based on code that we already have. We're using, of course, data from the National Infrastructure Database, and as I said, we concentrate on strong wind and heat waves. And once the project will be done, we'll take this aggregated data set, put it onto the DAFNI platform, and have that static results of a weather risk map across the Anglia region, while producing a software that can be a plug-and-play kind of version and be fed with new weather and new infrastructure data for new analysis onto the DAFNI platform. So in conclusion, we have this problem of increasing weather resilience and adaptation for the railway network. Our objectives is to create the tool, give it a risk map, getting a risk map of it and make the tool available. And we are on course to do that for benefits for the public in terms of getting more resilient railway network, as well as for the research community, because probably we are trying to push this Bayesian approach in the next part of the project onto the railway network and to the weather data that has not been done massively yet. Yes, that would be me. Thank you.